Well, guess what I found out yesterday, my friends? Another candidate has thrown her hat into the ring for the nomination of the Republican Party for Congress for the 14th Congressional District of Illinois. A young lady from Woodstock, Illinois, Catalina Lauf. So there's 7 of us now. And I head the list. Anthony Catella, Ted Gradell, Catalina Lauf, Danny Maloof, James Martyr, Jim Oberweis, and Sue Raisin. Well, it's time for me to give another speech. Good morning, my fellow citizens. Speech making, as my college professor, Mrs. Sampson, taught, is basically about communicating. Communication. Well, let me relate a funny anecdote about communication skills. First told by Danny Delanuevo, a one-time place kicker for the LA Rams turned sports announcer. He told it once to Ronald Reagan, and Reagan, as we know, began his communicating career as a sports announcer. Well, one evening, Danny and his wife had a young baseball player and his wife over for dinner. The young couple also had a baby a few months old. Well, the young wife was with their baby daughter, and she started crying, so the wife looked over at her husband and said, "Honey, could you please change the baby?" The young man, perhaps a bit embarrassed, replied back, "Change the baby? Hey, I'm a ball player. That's not my line of work." Well, the young wife put her free hand on her hip, kicked back her head, and she began communicating in terms that her ball player husband could understand. She said, "Listen, bud, you lay the diaper out like a diamond. You put second base on home plate, put the baby's bottom on the pitcher's mound, hook up first and third, slide home plate underneath, and if it starts raining, guess what? The game isn't called. You start all over again." Now that's what I call communication. And boy, I have a tough act to follow. Incidentally, one of our fellow Republicans running for the nomination, Ted Gradell, was himself a place kicker for the Notre Dame football team. My fellow citizens, as you know, my name is Anthony Catella of St. Charles, Illinois. I trust I'm a little known amongst you. I've been active in Kane County politics since 2016, to what degree I can be, when I discovered how to become an election judge. I've since been appointed in November 2017 committeeman for Precinct 18, St. Charles Precinct 18. On March 20, 2018, I was elected, running unopposed. If you look me up on YouTube, youtube.com, you will see and hear more of me and what I believe in and what I stand for. Simply go to youtube.com and then type in Anthony Catella. For now, you can see and hear me live. Well, you can see and hear me live on YouTube. I have just got to get this speech delivered to a live audience, but I'm happy to put it on YouTube today. It's an excellent motive, as I've always said. It has been my honor to work for candidates for our party in the last few election cycles. I'm a voter registrar. As a committeeman, I take it as a duty and a privilege, a happy privilege indeed, to walk around Precinct 18 anytime I'm out and connect with my fellow citizens of the precinct. I'm always willing to stop, shake hands, and speak or listen, and end on a happy note. I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I do think I'm as good as anyone. I don't believe I have a divine right, nor does any man or woman have a divine right to rule anyone in public office. But I do say I believe I have been inspired, divinely inspired, as a concerned citizen. And I believe as a concerned citizen, I have a right, like any concerned citizen, to run for public office and try my best to win. As a candidate, my motto is, dare to run, dare to win. Catella for Congress. How about it? Or put another way, to dare, and to dare ever again. Similar to Frederick the Great's philosophy. L'audace, toujours l'audace. I therefore dare to believe I am one of the new faces of a new generation of Republican leadership for this great and sovereign state of Illinois and this great country of the United States of America. I dare to believe I can infuse the GOP with a new vitality in the manner that John F. Kennedy did for the Democrats and that Ronald Reagan did for us. Now, I know that was a big dare. How can I, or any man, ever fill Reagan's shoes? Well, I'm a great believer in the Emersonian doctrine that great men exist, that there still may be greater men. Besides, in my best Reagan voice, let me just say, I have lived in Dixon, Illinois for 1 year, one whole year, and I ran in the Reagan run carrying the national colors. Right here, the national colors. Right, I carried this in the Reagan run. I lifted it up above my head and shoulders as I ran. And believe it or not, I inspired my fellow runners. I also think, as mentioned just previously with Reagan, I also think that I have something of a Jack Kennedy in me. Now, if any Democrat were to say to me, Mr. Catella, I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Mr. Catella, you're no Jack Kennedy. Well, I'd say go ahead and make my day. But I would challenge him right then and there to a dueling Kennedy. I would stand and deliver Kennedy's inaugural address, and then he could stand or she could stand and deliver the inaugural address, and I bet you I would be able to deliver it just like John Kennedy did. And if you close your eyes, you'd think you're recording, you'd think you'd be listening to the recording of the man himself. Well, that's just my opinion. Reagan and Kennedy. How about that for bipartisanship? I think both these men would agree today on many of the main issues that we face. In fact, I'll wager JFK would be a Republican today, if he were alive today. And he'd be pretty old, over 100 years old. And Reagan, too, would be 109. These two greats, from our two great political parties, but from our one great nation, have always been my heroes and guides. Their inspiration breathes in me. I also have a great reverence for Abraham Lincoln, whose home in Springfield I've recently visited. Now, my friends, I want to talk to you about another American hero whose inspiration also lives and breathes in me. He is, unhappily, not as exalted as a Kennedy or Lincoln or Reagan, but he is exalted nonetheless to me. At age 19, I want to tell you a little bit about it. At age 19, in 1901, over 100 years ago, 35 years after the death of Lincoln, in 1901, this hero left his native land of Italy and came to America, and he became a citizen of the United States of America. And he learned English and became an attorney. He helped his fellow Italian Americans assimilate into American culture. In February 1916, he ran as a candidate for alderman in Chicago's 17th Ward, and although he did not win, he remained an involved participant. The next election in which he threw his hat into the ring was to run for the Republican nomination for the Congress of the United States in the 8th Congressional District of Illinois. He did not become the nominee, having lost in the primary on September 13, 1916. Still, what a pioneer he was for the people of his ethnic group and generation to make a stride toward public office. Now, how's that for a concerned citizen? He was, and I quote, a man of mild manners, and sunny disposition. It was said of him, and this made him likable and well loved by all who knew him. He was upright and honest, and I quote, neither dark times nor perverse circumstances or surroundings could corrupt him. The 17th Ward considered him to be, and I quote, a factor to be reckoned with and to be considered in every campaign. It was on January 8, 1917, a whole year before Woodrow Wilson put forth his 14 points for peace in World War I, when, on the state level, this hero of whom I speak attended in Springfield, Illinois, with other officials, the inauguration of Frank O. Loudon as the 25th governor of this great and sovereign state of Illinois. Sadly and strangely, upon his return to Chicago, this hero sickened and died. He died on January 20th, 1917, 100 years before 2017. He died on January 20th, 1917, at age 35. This hero, who died so young, with such great political potential, leaving a young wife and son. I am proud to say was my great-great-uncle from my maternal grandmother's side of my family. His name was John B. Calo, and I proudly have his picture among these three other great people from American history. 5 years to the day, 5 years to the day of my great-great-uncle's death, on January 20th, 2017, I had the happy privilege to stand on the very grounds of the United States Capitol and see Donald John Trump inaugurated our 45th President of the United States of America. In 2018, 52 years after my great-great-uncle's campaign for alderman, I won my first election as a precinct committeeman for my hometown of St. Charles, Precinct 18. Yes, my fellow citizens, I am the great-great-nephew of one who would have been a great-great politician, who was a great-great politician in my estimation. This hero dared and dared and dared ever again. I can now announce to you, my fellow citizens, as I have on an occasion before, so I will again today, on this occasion, announce that my next step in politics has been and is now to place my name on the ballot to be a candidate on the March 17th, 2020 primary election for the Republican nomination for the 14th Congressional District of Illinois. And I'm soon to begin my campaign, my drive to get the petitions circulated, which will enable me to get on the ballot. It's the same principle as running for committeeman. It's the same principle. And so 54 years from the time my great-great-uncle John B. Calo dared to run for Congress, his great-great-nephew Anthony Catella dares to run for Congress. I do not say I have a right to win simply because I am the great-great-nephew of a congressional candidate. No, I do not believe it that way. But I do say that this is my inspiration to win. And a good inspiration it is at that. You know, I've been singing our beautiful state song lately, and I was a boys' state delegate in 1988 when I was 18 years old. Me and 7 other of my fellow high schoolers, seniors from high school, were nominated by our respective American Legion posts to run or to attend the premier boys' state convention, or week-long experience, where we experienced how to live. We learned by doing the ideas of state government, and I was so happy to represent my high school along with my 6 other colleagues. And in the state song of Illinois, and I've sung this before, it's a great stanza that celebrates boys' state, and it goes like this. We will tell the boys' state story, Illinois, Illinois, of our dreams of hope and glory, Illinois, Illinois. We are loyal to a man, and united now we stand, premier leaders of the land, Illinois, Illinois, premier leaders of the land, Illinois. And you know, I've been thinking of another stanza that I'd like to add to our state song, and it is this. For Congress I am running, Illinois, Illinois. I'm a loyal son of yours, Illinois, Illinois. To your people I'll be true as the red and white and blue. For Congress I am running, Illinois, Illinois. For Congress I am running, Illinois. Well, I wish I was running Illinois. We all know that Mike Madigan thinks he's running Illinois, and he has been for a long time. All I want to do is run for Congress. I don't want to run Illinois. Far be it from me to take a man's job away from him. I'm trying to campaign to run to give people jobs. Well, anyway, isn't that a great stanza for our state song? Well, I think it is. Now, I know I must have a platform a bit more substantial than a song. Therefore, let me detail, as a candidate for the 14th Congressional District, let me put in detail a 4-point plan for leadership. And I've put this out in my announcement speech, but I want to reiterate it. First, humble use of power. Humble use of power. I follow George Washington's example in the humble use of power. He knew how to accept power as a charge, a gift from someone else. For example, the Continental Congress. He knew how to use power wisely and justly, and he knew when to return power to the source from whence it came. The Continental Congress issued him his commission to be commander of the Continental Army. And Washington did this on two occasions in the early history of the Republic. In 1775, upon accepting command in the Continental Army, and in 1783, when he stepped down from command when the war was ended and the victory of our independence won. He even put down an attempt to make him a king or a military dictator. The second time he accepted power was when he was unanimously elected the first president of the United States in 1789. Upon completion of his second term in 1797, he stepped down to allow the next man to serve. I really believe that much of our present political corruption is due to the same office holders remaining in office way past their usefulness. Harry Truman once said that there are three things that can ruin a man: power, money, and women. Well, I have a deficit in all three of those categories, so maybe I'll be successful. He said, if a man can accept power as a gift from someone else, he's all right. But if he thinks for a minute that he is the creator and sole wielder of the power, then he's really in a fix. And if a man earns too much money and forgets how the rest of us have to live every day, work every day, that can be detrimental. And of course, if a man has the right partner in life, he is blessed indeed. You know, my friends, it is well for us to remember the wise words of Benjamin Franklin, who spoke about the essence of self-government in a free society. And he spoke of the transfer of power in a free society. And he said, the rulers are the servants, and the people their sovereigns and superiors. And therefore, for the former to rejoin the latter is not to degrade them, but is not to demote them, but is to promote them. For the former, the ruler, to rejoin the latter, the people, is but a promotion and not a demotion. Because we the people. We the people have a government, not we the government have a people. Our leaders come from the people and lead the people and then return back to the people. This is what keeps us free and free from absolute power corrupting absolutely. Second, term limits. Term limits. All office holders, appointed or elected, should have term limits. If an elected official cannot do one or two effective deeds in one or two terms, then the system is either ineffective or grown too corrupt or too partisan. I, for one, speaking for myself, I, for one, would rather do one or two great things as an office holder and step down with the thanks of my fellow citizens than stay in office for years on end, doing virtually nothing, but having the opprobrium of my fellow citizens. And this is not easy, because once someone has tasted power, it can really have a fix on him or her. And our founding fathers knew this. They knew this well about human nature and power. We were the first people to throw off a tyrant and put on our own leadership. This is why they wrote the Constitution, with power dispersed amongst the three branches of government, and that one branch checks and balances the other. Washington set the example of our chief magistrate to be no more than 8 years. FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, kind of forgot about that, although he left the decision to the party to either renominate him or nominate somebody else. We want Roosevelt, the Democrats chanted in 1940, and they got it. But I've always respected Franklin Roosevelt as a great war leader and a great orator, and a man who, coming from a wealthy background, he could have lived the life of a simple, quiet, calm, country gentleman, not doing anything except living on his beautiful estate and enjoying life. But instead, he chose to follow in the path of his cousin, Theodore Roosevelt, a rough-riding Republican, in the path of public service. That's the concept of the noblesse oblige, meaning that that's a French term for the people with power and ability, or with means, should use it to help their fellow citizens who may be less well off. And that was the ideal, and I think that's very commendable. And as a war leader during World War II, Franklin D. Roosevelt was extraordinary. The argument for no term limits is based on the idea that if a person is popular in office, he or she should be able to run indefinitely, and the people should be given the opportunity to continuously vote for that person. Well, that's fair enough. But I say that if there is one good man or woman in office, there are 10 or more just as good, just as qualified, who could be in that office and should be given the opportunity to run in a free and fair election. We're a people that have a government, as I've said, and not a government that has a people. This is the difference between a true democracy and a republic, as opposed to an autocracy or a plutocracy. Now, many people say, well, are we a republic or are we a democracy? Well, we're a little bit of both. We are a republic, the United States is, in the sense that we have people that are elected to represent us and speak for us in the state legislatures and in the United States Congress, Senate, and House. And our president, who represents our president and vice president, who represent the whole people, all the people. We are a democracy. That's our Republican form of government. But we are a democracy in the sense that we, the people, go to the polls and vote. The people, demos, vote for their representatives. That's the democracy part. And thank God we are not a plutocracy or an autocracy. An autocracy is the rule of one person, a dictator. Plutocracy is the rule of the rich and wealthy few. We are not yet there, and I hope we never get there. But, you know, in my opinion, we have there's a dangerous trend toward plutocracy in this country, with only the wealthy running and holding office. And that shouldn't be. I'm not a wealthy man, but I'm running for office because I'm an American, a Republican, and a free man. I believe it was Dwight D. Eisenhower who said, political health is endangered if one party, by whatever means, becomes permanently or too entrenched in power. He, of course, said this in 1952, and that was when the Democrats had been in the White House for 100 years, beginning with Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1932. So that's my view on term limits. Third, bipartisanship. Bipartisanship. Although we have a two-party system, which George Washington, incidentally, warned against, argued against, counseled against, we must strive to be bipartisan in our efforts at governing. We are some Republicans, some Democrats, and some independents, and some of other parties, but we are all Americans. The intense partisan divide over the last 25 years or more, which has gripped the government, makes it nearly impossible to govern. Partisanship is necessary in a political campaign, but when the campaign is over and won, the candidates with the majority or plurality of the votes are the declared winners. And then we've reached the water's edge. And partisanship ends. And cooperation with the elected government begins. This is not without considered opposition. This is not without considered opposition. But that opposition must be loyal to the elected government. A loyal opposition. Yes, a loyal opposition. Not and without the deep and abiding divisions which sear our union, scar our union, and block progress. In a democracy, the majority rules, but the minority's rights are protected and respected. And through the electoral process, have the right to become once again the majority. Democracy, my fellow citizens, tests our faith in ourselves. Freedom bids us ask what we can do to serve our country. And God judges us on how firmly we believed in Him and in one another, and how well we have indeed and in truth served our country. Number 4, order with justice under law. order with justice under law. Respect for order and justice, respect for order with justice under law is essential for the stability and security of our country. I say again, respect for order with justice under law is essential for the security and stability of our country. We are a government of laws and not of men. The men and women who legislate and enforce our laws are themselves part of our citizenry. A wise people remember and live by the highest law there is, the highest law possible, which begets the highest order. And this is in the Holy Scriptures. Well, now I'm opening myself to being criticized as a Bible thumper. Well, I tell you what, there are worse things to be criticized for. The highest law that I'm speaking of is that found in the Holy Scriptures. And I'm a Bible reader and believer every day. I read it every day. And I'm on the book of the prophet Isaiah right now. This law that I speak, of which I speak, is as clear as the Constitution, but older, indeed eternal. This is God's law. It is described in the Scriptures. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. Psalm 19, verse 7. The law of God is in the heart of the just. The law of God is in the heart of the just. And none of his steps shall slide. Psalm 37, verse 31. The law of your mouth is better to me than thousands of coins of gold and silver. Psalm 119, verse 72. Oh, how I love your law. It is my meditation all the day. Psalm 119, verse 97. The law spoken here, my fellow citizens, is the law of God, the divine law. From this we derive the natural law, which is man's participation in the divine law of God. This is the jurisprudence upon which our founding fathers placed and set this nation. Like Ezra of old, the Hebrew priest, our fathers prepared their hearts to learn the law of God and live by it. Upon the living of the law of God rests our order as a free and just society. And upon that order rests our peace, our prosperity, our progress, and our civilization. Our fathers, God, to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright, with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King. And I enter politics for the same reason the prophet Isaiah prophesied, that every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain made low, the rough places made plain, and the crooked places set straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and glory shall shine upon our land. And so, my fellow citizens, as I march forward, as I continue to earn and gain your confidence and respect, your confidence and your trust, I march forth with the faith that we are a good country, a beautiful country, and a true country. Oh, yes, we are. From precinct to president, from sea to shining sea, from every mountainside, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, our home sweet home. And this is the faith that moves me upward and onward and forward as I continue to happily participate in the greatest republic ever conceived by the genius of man and blessed by the providence of God. My citizens, I thank you. Well, I certainly hope that you enjoyed my message. I certainly enjoy giving it, and I hope one day I can deliver it to a live audience. I've practiced it a lot. I've written it, I've read it, I've practiced it, and I've just delivered it now before you on YouTube, and I felt pretty confident with the delivery. And that's one thing about speech making. It is communication, but it is also the stump speech is a wonderful tool by which you can get your message out. And if you believe in something, you keep saying it, and the more you say it, the better at it the better at giving it you become. And the panoply I had before me consists of three people, actually four people, who, as I said in the speech, are very inspirational to me. Here we have a bust of President Kennedy, and we have a bust of Abraham Lincoln, and then a picture of Ronald Reagan, and this is a picture of my great uncle, of whom I spoke in the speech, John V. Caleb. And of course, here I am in my campaign poster, Catella for Congress. Leadership for the future. And then of course, a partial replica of the Declaration of Independence, America's birthright, America's birth certificate. You know, we often refer to it as the Declaration of Independence, and it is. But it is really, as it is titled, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. That's the official title of the Declaration of Independence. This is the rock solid foundation upon which our nation stands, upon which our founders built our glorious republic. And of course, the other foundation upon which our founding fathers set this nation is the Holy Scriptures. And I have it open to the Psalms. Psalm 39, verse 17. Let all that seek thee rejoice and be glad in thee. Psalm 41, verse 8. Deep calleth on deep. And verse 9. With me is prayer to the God of my life. God, thou art my support. And Psalm 42, verse 6. Hope in God, for I will still give praise to him, my Savior and my God. Yeah, that's from the Douay-Rheims version. It might be the Psalms are differently ordered or differently numbered in the Douay-Rheims version, but it's still God's holy truth. Well, I'm confident as I continue on this campaign trail. I'm confident of victory. Even if I do not win, I still will have given it 100% of my mind and spirit, because I love this country. And basically, you know, I'll tell you this. Why am I doing this? Because I feel a sense of obligation to my country. Why did I enlist in the Army? Because I felt an obligation, a sense of obligation to my country. Why did I study for the priesthood and serve as a priest for a few years in my life? Because I felt a sense of service and obligation to the people of God. And that's what motivates me. And I believe strongly that that's what has motivated our heroes in the past. And again, great men exist, that there still may be greater men. Thank you very much.